Oh, yeah, let's go OB live for a Monday. Texas gets the win. They keep hope alive. They are 7-2, and you get to go into the bye week with a big exhale, Texas fans. Jump on into the chat. Get on into the super chats if you like. We certainly would appreciate that. First and foremost, we want to send our best out to Ketch and the Ketchum family. They've got somebody that's having a surgery today, and Ketch is making sure his mother can get there to support that family member. So all the best to the Ketchum family today, and any of you guys maybe dealing with some family surgery today. Obviously, that's something that needs to be taken care of. So this guy jumps in. It is Jason Sukamel of Orange Bloods. You see the two of us with the recruiting show, and that's still coming this week. But Jason, nice enough to jump in for Ketch today. Always good to see you, sir. How you feeling on this Monday with Texas at 7-2?
Feeling pretty positive, Chad. Like I don't say I've beaten this team up a little bit, but I feel like I've been objective when they haven't played well. I've called them out for not playing well, and it's been reflected in my SEC rankings every week, which I taken some heat for. But yeah, I feel pretty good about coming out of that. Obviously, that win on Saturday over Vanderbilt was a good win. And we'll get into it and we'll talk about it. I think this team really, and I said it after Oklahoma, and I was like, okay, maybe I was wrong to do it then, but I feel like they found some things that can really help them moving forward in that Vanderbilt win. We saw Sark today at his press conference. He seemed to kind of echo some of those sentiments. So I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good about this Texas team. Tough road ahead, tough opponents, but I think that I like this team's chances, Chad, a hell of a lot better, obviously, after Vanderbilt than I did going into that game. I think they found some things they can utilize moving forward.
Yeah, that's what I want to get from the chat today as well. Just kind of how the mindset is for everybody going into the bye week. We said it in the post game of the Florida game at 3-2. Can they get to Athens at 7-2? We knew it was doable, but we knew it could be tough depending on how those teams were playing and all those kind of things. But they got it done. Now it's 7-2. How are y'all feeling at 7-2? And we structured the show today around a really, I think a message Jason got that can kind of add fuel to this positive fire. So Jason, let's get this out. I thought it ended up working perfectly for the show because you let us know in our OB, chat, like, hey, by the way, maybe we kind of know this, but I got this from a source, and I thought, oh, that's perfect for the show. So lay it out for everybody of what you received.
Yeah, I just got kind of an unsolicited random text message this morning, and I won't show it, but I'll read it. It said, the team is rolling now. Ryan Wingo, McDonald will be back for Georgia, and Taff. I won't say the spelling of Taff wasn't anywhere close, but the message is that they should be pretty healthy. Sark addressed a couple of those issues in his press conference today, but I do tend to agree this team is rolling. I mean, you take the fourth quarter of the Mississippi State game, obviously what they did for 55-ish minutes of that Vanderbilt game, the end. Mm-hmm. It was interesting to hear Sark today kind of say, like, he was like, yeah, we kind of dominated that game. He goes, yeah, we have to play better and finish better. But that's kind of how I viewed it, Chad, and on our post-game show on Saturday, right? I was like, I don't know, man. I'm looking at this as a very positive win. People in the chat were like, hey, that sucked the way Texas closed out the game. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of buying into this positivity vibe that I got from a source. We saw it from Sark. I'm buying in. Listen, I'm not always the most positive guy, okay? Some people would say I need to be more positive sometimes, but I'm kind of buying in. I think this team's got a shot to go make some waves in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and I was with you in the post game. I kind of had the feeling too. I thought one of the weird comments we got in the post game that I didn't think was fair was to think of that game like the Mississippi State game. And I'm like, well, wait a second. In the Mississippi State game, you played like 3/4 of the game or more in an unacceptable fashion. Mm-hmm. And then you barely clawed your way back and won in a way nobody had in like 250 games. This game, for 55 minutes, you pounded on Vanderbilt. You controlled that game, and we can get into it today. I went back and watched. There are 2 or 3 moments that if Texas gets a play, if someone just makes a simple play, or if an official sees a simple I'll say it for y'all, Texas fans. If an official sees a simple moment in a simple way, it's a very different ball game. They get it done. Vandy never had a possession. I understand the onside kick was crazy, but that's why they're onside kicks. They never had a possession to tie or take a lead in that game. And I would lean more where Sark is. And like he said Saturday night, Jason, now he really gets to rip into this team. If they'd have won 34-10, maybe they're a little distracted. If they win 41-16, maybe they're a little not focused. But they won 34-31. He knows they dominated most of it, but now he gets to destroy them in practice and remind them of all the little details that they missed, and he gets to do that after a win. I think all of it speaks to a positive version for Texas. Obviously, you'd like to just destroy. You'd like to wipe out a team, obviously, but I think there are things that he can use here, and it feels like he's going to be able to use it in the right way.
Yeah, definitely some coachable moments coming out of that win, Chad. You're a little choppy for me. I don't know if that's you or me, but there's definitely some coachable moments. And he said, hey, even some of the young guys that got in the game, and they certainly weren't perfect in the back end of that defense. But that's valuable experience. It will pay dividends moving forward. And this is a great time to have an off week. They can get guys healthy, or hopefully as healthy as they can. And he said that's one of their priorities this week, is get guys as close to healthy as they can. But you're right. Hey, the only downfall or negative, if you will, of winning that game by 3 points as opposed to 20 or something. And again, Sark touched on this. He said, hey, the CFP committee, he goes, they may look at that game and say, oh, that was a close game. And he's like, no, like Texas pretty much dominated, for most of that game. So on one hand, yeah, you would have liked to have seen them win a little bit more convincingly for the eyes of people who make those decisions and voters and things possibly. But like you said, hey, a 3-point win, you kind of played sloppy down the stretch. You can still coach this team hard this week and, maybe keep them from getting overconfident. So, I think it was a great win to beat a top 10 Vanderbilt team. That gives them Texas now 2 top 10 wins. You get Vanderbilt and Oklahoma was top 10. That's something they can sell to the committee. Their playoff hopes remain alive. Obviously, that's priority number one. But yeah, I think this would be a good week for Texas. They can coach these guys hard and say, hey, listen, we won, but guys, there's a lot of things we can do better and a lot of things we can improve on. And we're going to have to improve on if we want to beat Georgia in 2 weeks, if we want to beat Texas A&M to end the regular season. So great win, but also something they can still build upon and still use it to get better.
Yeah. All right, Jason, now you got a little glitchy on that one. The chat says everything looks good to them, but right now you are looking a little you just went pixelated there after that answer. The answer was fine. We'll see if it hangs in. Sark did talk about those injury situations a little bit today. Wingo, McDonald, we'll get into some of that. Feel free to chat us up, send the super chats if you like. By the way, to the sensitive Buck Wild, I know those highways can be tough. You never say hello to me, just saying. What? Dude, I give you the truck horn all the time. And if you directly say hello to me before the show starts in the chat, I will always say hello back. That's what happened with Tex Blonde today. There's no reason to get jealous. I have no idea. What
I just figured it was because it was Tex Blonde. That's why she gets the hello.
No, that's not true. And Jefferson's wrong too. Chad doesn't say hello to anyone. Completely untrue. I have no idea what you're talking about. There's no reason to take out any anger on me. Tex Blonde. I think Chad is the least triggered Aggie I know and the only one I like. LOL. Tex Blonde.
I think I agree with that. My best friend is an Aggie, so I love that guy, but Chad's definitely the least triggered one I can.
Yeah, it is hard to trigger me as an Aggie. That is absolutely true. So if you guys want to give us a super chat, feel free. So the updates on the 2 injuries, I wish someone had directly asked about Taff. They didn't directly ask that question, but he was asked about Wingo. He said he'll be limited this week. And Jason, he won't miss. They don't feel like he'll miss action, but he's not going to be 100%. Yeah. This might be the fact where a snarky reporter would say, this is the coach that'll throw to a guy with a whole broken hand. So why would he care about a thumb? Anyway, but whatever Wingo can give you, it feels like that he's going to be able to go in Athens. It is interesting, Jason, that game started so well because they're still pretty early in the game. I think it's 10-0 when he gets hurt. So it is interesting that they looked at that and said, hey, let's stop. Let's not try to get him back in the game, because after the game, that was the notion that we got, that if it had been some kind of an emergency, break glass situation, Wingo maybe could have come back.
Yeah, Sark said Saturday night if they absolutely needed him to, he probably could have played. I thought it was interesting about his answer to the Wingo question. He didn't say exactly what the injury is. We know it's a thumb injury. We all saw the picture or the replay on television, right? He just said, Sark said, it is what we thought it was. Well, I don't know if that's a dislocated thumb or a broken thumb. I don't exactly know the exact diagnosis there, but he said, hey, this week they'll probably limit him just to walk through type stuff, but they don't expect him to miss any time, which is huge. Like you said, hey, Sark said, hey, he's a receiver. That thumb's important. It's going to limit him. He's not going to be 100%. And frankly, I doubt he will be 100% at any point for the rest of this year based on what we saw on Saturday. But the good news is, those other receivers played well and they all stepped up. But Ryan Wingo is probably your most explosive receiver. We've seen that the past couple of weeks. So the good news is, barring any significant setbacks, they're fully expecting him. I mean, people, saw the text message I got, Sark mentioned it. They're fully expecting him to be ready for Georgia. They're just going to have to, this week in particular, kind of wrap him in bubble wrap and just, hey, dude, you do chalkboard stuff. You can do walkthroughs, but no actual practice time for Ryan Wingo this week.
Yeah. All right. Y'all jump in the chat. And I've just seen in the chat, we've got a kickoff time for Texas and Georgia, and it ain't going to surprise anybody. Before we talk about that kickoff time, you got to have a badass screen. Here's a little from AV Consultations. They can set up all this for you. Probably not by the Georgia game, but, in a relatively reasonable amount of time. Here it is.
Field goal, end zone, interception.
What's up, kid?
Just trying to write a new commercial for audiovisual consultations. Football season is about to start.
Okay, so what have you got so far?
Roses are red, violets are blue, football is awesome, our installations are too.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting what I want.
Okay, how about my football lies over the ocean?
Boy.
Yeah, I guess I just don't really understand this sport. Think about hockey, a sport played by real men. Fights, no TV timeouts, and no flopping.
Yeah, that's why Audiovisual installs systems so that every customer feels like they're right there on the field.
People's love for football might be hard to understand, but ABC can tackle any residential or home improvement to get you ready for the big game.
Now you're getting it.
Ready for the halftime show?
What?
Hug your kids, laugh with strangers, and make love to whoever the hell you want.
Just call us at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678.
All right, I'm going to take the chat at its word. Bobby says it is a 6:30 kick Central Time in Athens. No surprise there. Bobby,
I just got the email from you.
Yes? Sweet.
I just got the email from UT, the press release. So, yeah, 6:30.
There you go, 6:30. And as someone else pointed out in the chat, there really was only one other game, Jason, out of respect for what Bama's doing and what Oklahoma just did to Tennessee. That game, the records are very similar if you look at all four teams. So would you wait and see if Alabama beats LSU before you set the kick times? They decided to go ahead and do it now. I love this choice. It needed to be this. Bama, Oklahoma needed to be more of the mid-afternoon. And Texas at Georgia with all that's on the line. I mean, you got to do it. I think it was an automatic. So glad to hear it's a 6:30.
Well, Texas is coming in, with its record. Georgia's got Mississippi State this week, I believe. Is that what we said?
Yes.
So they're probably going to come in at 8-1. So, yeah, makes a lot of sense. We kind of expected it, to be the night game, but now it's official.
Yeah, and they do have to go to Starkville, so that's one of those you watch this week. And now some would say you watch and you don't root for Georgia to lose. Ketch brought up an interesting theory in the post game. If they lost, they'd have the same level of desperation as Texas does. Is that what you want, Texas fans? I kind of think you want Georgia to win. Let them win, let them come in, and let Texas be the one that gives them that second conference loss. That's how I would think about it.
No, I agree with that. Ketch mentioned it in our post game. Sometimes desperation matters in football.
Hell yeah.
Take my Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday, for example. They had to win that game, and they go out and beat the Colts. That matters, man. Your Texas's backs will be against the wall. They're going to be against the wall every game they play. Georgia can still have a misstep. If they lose to Texas, they're still in, CFP discussion and SEC championship discussion. Texas, that's not the case. This is a must-win game for Texas. So I agree with that assessment. You want Georgia to win this week. In fact, you probably want them to beat the shit out of Mississippi State, come in maybe overconfident.
Agreed.
Texas kind of comes out like a caged animal, and maybe they can take them down.
Yeah, if I'm a Texas fan, I root for Georgia, and I root for anybody playing A&M or Bama. That getting a loss on one of those two would be good, because then you could work yourself into maybe even tiebreakers to Atlanta, and then you could give A&M a second conference loss, not just the first one. You could give them a second one. If Missouri gets them and you get them, you might knock them. You would certainly, they'd be out of the Atlanta discussion, but you could also knock them down the playoff discussion a ways. Maybe, I don't know about all the way out, but you could knock them back to a road game, one of those road games before the quarterfinals. So there's a lot, obviously, this next week or so. If you're a Texas fan, you get to just sit back and watch some football this weekend, which is good. And hopefully there'll be good officiating in these games. But Trills Mac for $199. SEC officiating atrocious. We need changes. Jason,
I think just officiating, guys. I mean, we had this conversation every year when Texas was in the Big 12.
I know.
I mean, without fail on Orange Bloods, and people get mad at me because I'd like poke fun at them. Like, really, guys, are we going to start this on the first drive of the game? No, they're not calling holding, or they're doing this, or they're out to screw Texas. I'm like, Texas makes more money for this conference than anybody. You think they're really trying to screw Texas? But every game, and listen, the Vanderbilt officiating was awful, and Sark kind of addressed it a little bit. He was very he didn't go over the top. He just said, hey, we sent some plays in for clarification. But, man, it was bad officiating. You said it, Chad. If those refs make a couple calls that are pretty obvious, that game looks a lot different. The final outcome does. But to Trill's point, I just think officiating is just bad all over the place, man. It was bad in the Big 12. We've seen it's not a whole lot better in the SEC. And I'm not a guy who always beats on officials. That's a tough job, dude. I mean, things are moving so fast. There's so much to watch. But that Vanderbilt, man, it can't be so one-sided. Hey, if you're going to miss a call, that happens. But they missed several. Instant replay didn't even get it correct. So I don't know what the hell was going on in that Vanderbilt game.
Yeah, there's a couple things for me. There's the two plays that blinked to me. One is just a play that needed to be made, and a guy just didn't make a play. If Trey Moore can tip that ball and be able to catch it, it's literally on his face mask. If he could have made that play, it was 34-10 at that moment. It would have been Texas ball deep in Vanderbilt territory. I think that play could have really swung things. But the other one, Jason, is the PI miss. Like, if you get that PI right, the ball goes to the 2-yard line. Even if we assumed a field goal, that's 37-16, and it's back to a 21-point lead. If they get a touchdown, it's 41-16. And how you miss that call, I don't know.
Like, was he just so focused on whether or not it was a catch? Because, I mean, it wasn't like it was a little tug, Chad. I mean, damn near ripped the sleeve off. So
there are two jobs there, right? You got to look for PI before the ball gets there, and then does he catch it once it gets there?
You're right there.
I don't understand it.
Mark was pissed on that one. We saw him on the sideline. He was pissed.
He should have been pissed. That was a terrible miss. So that does need to be better. Here's the other question I have for you, Jason. I think we all agree what Diego Pavia did to Xavier Filsaime, and he got that call. If you were going to see it as an official and go, oh, wow, I see what Pavia did, how would you call it to the crowd? What would you say? Unnecessary roughness on the quarterback?
I would pick up the flag, honestly.
You just pick up the one on Filsaime and move on?
Yeah, that's what I would do. And, like, you know what? Like, listen, I don't hate on Pavia for that play, right? I'm like, that's a pretty smart, savvy play. Like, he's kind of a dirtball. He drives me nuts. But I'm like, if Arch Manning did that, I'm like, all right, Arch, I see you. That's it. Yeah. That's a heady football play. So you got 15 free yards.
That's what I would like, honestly. I would love it if the official could do that and just say, I know what you're trying to do. I'm not going to let you do it, and I'm going to bail 17 out here. Because if you watch that play, they're a step off the field at that point, and Xavier is trying to get away from him, but he can't because he's being hugged and tackled. So
I would either pick up the flag or I'd call it on both and just say, hey, we've got offsetting penalties. Here's what happened. He pulled him down out of bounds, and the offensive player pulled him down. So he's getting 15, and so is 17, and offset. Here we go.
I will admit, though, to your Pavia comment, I've never seen that in my life. I'm 50 damn years old now, and I've watched a lot of football. I've never seen a quarterback do that. And I think the officials need to add that in for like the media day stuff. Just show it real quick at the end. By the way, fellas, let's look out for that. If you see that, please don't throw the flag on the defensive player. Let's help these guys out a little bit.
Yeah, because now, hey, if other quarterbacks are smart, like if Arch is smart, he's like, hey, I saw what Pavia did. I might try that sometime, right? So
create contact and,
yeah, just be ready for it in case it happens again.
Quarterback flop. Can you call that to the camera? We got a dead ball quarterback flop after the play. It says somebody said that was a veteran move.
Money B. Yeah,
I'll give you that. That was veteran stuff. It reminded me of John Stockton. That's the first guy that popped in my head when I was little and you growing up watching the NBA. You'd think Stockton had just been brutally fouled, and you watch the replay and go, "Oh my God, he pulled that guy into him to create the foul." It's brilliant.
That's crafty. Yeah, it's crafty.
It is super crafty stuff. All right. Speaking of crafty and tasty, want to thank Texas Card House, TCH Social Austin for having us out again. Make your plans. We now know it's an evening kick. Texas and Georgia, man, last year that watch party was awesome. That place was packed. The lounge area was packed. We had a great time. And remember, this is the screen that we put the games on. Texas and Georgia going to be right in the middle there. We'll put the other games that matter around it, but it's going to be a great time. And remember, they do have breakfast all day. Check out these breakfast tacos that I had last week. They were tasty. You know when you got fresh flour tortillas, like they're not just ordinary store-bought old tortillas. Yeah, it was that, plus the cheese and the eggs, chorizo and the potato, plus I had a side of bad beat bacon. I'm not going to lie to you. I did have the bad beat bacon as well. It was awesome. Make your plans to come see us at TCH Social Austin, 183 and Anderson Mill. Obviously, enjoy your bye week, and then come see us for the watch party for that game. And during your bye week, if you want to play some online poker, remember hijackpoker.com. Put it on your phone, put it on your tablet. Maybe you're going to head out to, a hunting lease, or you're going to head out to a family cabin or a get together or whatever you're doing this weekend. Yeah, play a little hijack poker. Get that $20 bonus when you get signed up. You got to be in the great state of Texas to get it done. By the way, Jason, speaking of the great state of Texas, my PSA this week for Texas fans is that if you have Aggies or Red Raiders in your timeline, you might want to block them this week. There's only 2 ranked matchups in America, and they involve the Aggies in one case and Texas Tech in the other.
Oh, that's Texas Tech, BYU, right?
That's where game day's going, is Lubbock.
Yeah.
Those 3 teams are in the top 15. I didn't even look it up. I'm going to tell y'all that's never happened. Somebody please prove me wrong. Top 15 in November. Texas A&M, and Texas Tech. There's no way that's ever happened. Ever. I cannot think of a time when it would have been all 3 of those teams at the same time. LSU, Bama, not a ranked matchup. We all know why. Indiana, Penn State, not a ranked matchup. We all know why. Florida State, Clemson, not a ranked matchup. And boy, do we know why. So it's those 2. It's the weekend where if you're a Texas fan, you just sit back, you root for Missouri and BYU like crazy, and then see what happens. So that is coming up this weekend. And as far as last weekend goes, don't worry. I know a guy. I got you. Chad, you picked the wrong ranked versus unranked upsets last week. I did. You're welcome to Tech and Notre Dame. I said one of them was going to lose. They both handled business. Both were close at a time, and both stretched it out. I give them both credit for it. It was the ACC teams that couldn't get out. It was Miami going to that ACC mecca of Dallas that couldn't get out. It was Georgia Tech, Jason, and my guy Haynes King that couldn't get out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Those 2 lose. And you know what, Jason? That's great help for Texas. Thank you, Noah Guy, for pointing it out. Great news for Texas. If you're a Longhorn fan, root for chaos in the ACC and the Big 12 if you can get it. Because that you just need one team from each of those conferences to be in. Don't have multiple teams in. Before last week, we would have said, well, maybe Miami and Georgia Tech. They both just lost. So right now, if they go by the rankings, and I'll show everybody what a 12 team would look like right now, only Virginia would be in the ACC. So there's kind of an extra spot there.
Yeah, I guess so. Like I guess is it Virginia? Georgia Tech? Who's like at the top of that? SMU still in contention, right? At ACC?
SMU-ish.
I think they've got 2 losses, but yeah, you definitely only – and Frank, you only want, obviously, for a Texas fan, one ACC team to get in.
Right.
And frankly, they better only get one team. There's no second team that deserves to be in with
right. The great news, so the great news, Jason, there is I'm looking at the ACC. They've got 3. They have 6 teams. Excuse me. Yeah, 6 teams that have no losses in conference or 1 loss. Virginia is the only one that's undefeated. But then the good news, playoff-wise, is you got SMU with 3 total losses. Duke's got 3 losses total. Pitt already has 2 losses total. Mm-hmm. So that's going to help you out playoff-wise. There's still some things to sort of pay attention to, but that it helps having a team like Georgia Tech now fall down to 16 in the country, and it feels like maybe there's only one ACC team.
In Virginia 12, they're not the 12th best team in the country. Come on. I mean, I'm looking, you got Virginia, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Pittsburgh's in that mix, but yeah, I mean, they'll get one team, and that's all they should get.
Yeah, but congrats to those teams. Those 10 teams I mentioned last week went 8-2. Memphis, Tech, USC, Virginia, the rest. Notre Dame got it done. Georgia obviously was away from home against an unranked. Everybody survived it except Miami and Georgia Tech. So we'll see what this week looks like. If you guys want to jump in the super chat, I think maybe I missed one. There it is. ATX Bates, one of our favorites that shows up to TCH Social Austin. If you're coming to TCH, we have established win protocols. Must order the same food from last week, sit in the same spots, same Batman underwear. There is a lot of sensitivity there. Except, Bates, remember, this past week, I broke it all down and said, I got to change it up. Because me going with the same stuff was just having Texas play ugly, barely get it done football. So I was going to go nuts and bolts with the biscuits and gravy, but they didn't have biscuits and gravy. So I figured breakfast tacos was the closest thing I could find. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm getting a breakfast sandwich for a 6:30 kick, Bates.
You know what, Bates? We're leaving all the food stuff to Ketch and Michelle. They're doing the enchiladas thing. I'm not sticking with you got to have the same thing. Now, look, if it's an evening.
I will wear the Batman underwear for you.
Here's what I can guarantee you, Bates. I'm going to do the bad beat bacon. That's my good luck food at TCH Social Austin. Bad beat bacon. I'll bring the jellyfish back because it's an evening kick. And then I'm not sure what I'm getting. I may go back to the salmon, actually, because it's so good for the Georgia game. But ATX Bates is going to trying to do the same thing. And our guy Barb's 10, I think, has ordered that salmon like 8 times in a row. I don't think he's ever going to get away from that salmon. Thank you guys for coming out and seeing us. We always appreciate it. It is Monday, of course, after the big win. Sark with good news in the press conference. Good mojo around this team. Like I mentioned earlier, Jason, Michael Taft didn't really get mentioned, but I do like that the message you got did include Taft and the idea that, I guess they're being extra careful. I mean, we saw that was a cast that was on his arm for the game on Saturday, but to get him 3 weeks of rest, I mean, that's got to be good news, right? The idea that they can get him to Athens. Maybe he's not 100%, but at the safety position, he should be able to get out there and, be himself, be effective because they need him.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he might play last weekend against Vandy. Okay, I think did they have him at questionable at first, I think, and then maybe moved him to doubtful, or I don't remember exactly. But I've got to think, and again, that's almost 2 full weeks away, but I've got to think that he will play in that game in Athens. I think that's the expectation. He didn't get mentioned in the press conference specifically today. To me, that's almost a good thing, Chad. I think it almost feels like maybe it's more of a foregone conclusion that he is going to play. Jelani McDonald was the other one that was talked about. He's in the concussion protocol. Yeah. But Sark said, hey, based on the way he's progressed from Saturday to Monday, as long as things keep on that kind of trending that direction, he should be fine for that game. So, he mentioned like the fourth quarter collapse, if you will, and some of the big plays that Vanderbilt got and the fact that they were able to drive down the field. There was, and I didn't see this at the time, but he said there was a time when they had none of their starters in the secondary were on. Well, I guess Jalen Gilbo would have been the only one, maybe, right? No, he said he said both their corners
and both
were out and they were down 13 safeties. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not making excuses for Texas, and Sark said it probably a half dozen times. They've got to play better in the fourth quarter. They've got to be better. Yeah. But, listen, man, you're down 2 All-American type players in your secondary. You're throwing a bunch of young guys out there. You're playing prevent. Vanderbilt's having to throw the ball all over the field. I mean, they're going to get some chunk yards. I mean, Texas certainly could have handled it better than they did. But, you kind of understand why things went the way they did in that fourth quarter.
So it'll be really important to watch that injury report once we get to next week for the 2 safeties. And then, people watch during the game, like you mentioned, Jason, towards the end, if there's time where Muhammad's not out there, we know he was banged up for the game earlier with Florida, and then he's been able to come back, but he dealt with something towards the end of this game. So just a really good time. Sark said that too very clearly today, like, good time for a bye, because you see how it breaks down for Texas, where they had that extra game. You'd love to, obviously the perfect, layout would be a 4-4-4 to get you, for a bye, but they had to do the 5 in the middle, and now they've got 3 games left. So just a perfect time to be able to get people healthy, and specifically the defensive side, because they're about to face, they're not facing the Kurt Warner Rams, but they're going to face teams that can throw the ball around the yard in big moments. Yeah. So
and even Arkansas has got a good offense. I mean, we keep talking about Georgia and A&M. Don't forget, that's an Arkansas team that can move the football too. So Texas needs to get healthy for that one too.
It's a good point. That's a great point. If you guys want to jump in and give us a super chat, that would be great. Again, Catch dealing with some family stuff today. He'll be back on Wednesday. We appreciate all of y'all's support. Also, speaking of support, we appreciate a lot of our great partners, including sinus and snoring specialists. Oh, this weekend. It was that weekend. It was fallback. It was that one night a year when you get the extra hour. Look, I'm not a fan of the rest of the year version of it. I'll admit, I'm not. I'm an old country kid who loves it when it's still light at 8:30 and 9 o'clock at night. But that one night that we just got, the Saturday night to Sunday, when you get that extra hour and you wake up, and no matter what happens on that Sunday, you're like, oh, it's only this time? What? It feels so much later. That was great. And sinus and snoring specialist is one of the main reasons why I get that great night's sleep. I've gotten incredible nights of sleep on and on since 2017. They'll get rid of your allergies for good, all the sinus issues you've been having, the snoring, that loud, crazy snoring, the sleep apnea. You're keeping people up. You're waking yourself up in the middle of the night. You're not breathing a whole lot during the night, and it's bad, and you've got to figure it out. Maybe other places haven't been able to figure it out. This is the one that can. SinusSnoringENT.com, or just call or text them securely at 601-0303. Let them know you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. We appreciate them. Sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. Hope everybody had a great fallback weekend. Jason, you get a little extra hour, extra sleep, feeling good?
I did. I need to call Dr. Slaughter, though, man. My allergies are killing me. I sleep with a CPAP, and my wife nudged me last night. What are you doing? She goes, "You're snoring." I got my CPAP on. She said, "Yeah, you're still snoring."
Wow. Okay.
Okay, I might need to give Dr. Slaughter a call. Let him get me fixed.
Get a little tune-up, right? Get a little tune-up.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure things are going well. There were a couple chats I wanted to get to because it kind of will lead us to the playoff conversation a little bit. Patrick threw this in. I don't want to get too nerdy, but let's just go through it real quick. Patrick says, Chad, if Texas runs the table, they will be in Atlanta. And then the logic Patrick is using is, since Ole Miss lost to Georgia, Texas would have the nod. Patrick, you are correct. If Texas ends up in a tiebreaker only with Ole Miss, your logic is sound there, because they would have the same record overall in teams that they've each played. Remember, you got to go to common opponents, and there's a lot of them actually with Texas and Ole Miss. This was weird. Yes, I did this goofy research. There are 6 teams that they each play. 6. And they'd both be 5-1, and you'd be right. Then you go to the top, and you find a team they both played. Would have both played Georgia. Texas would beat them in your scenario. Ole Miss didn't. The problem is the Aggies. You're assuming that by beating the Aggies, that head-to-head would knock the Aggies out. That's not how it works. If those 3 are tied, then you have to do a 3-way tiebreaker. Where do you go? You go to, did everybody play each other? No. Then you go to common opponents. Well, guess who the common opponents are? Mississippi State, Arkansas, wait for it, and Florida. That's where, if I'm understanding their rules right, that's where Texas would be out because of the loss to Florida. In that scenario, A&M and Ole Miss would have beaten Florida, and Texas did not. That's at least how I'm seeing that. That's the tiebreaker you don't want. That's why if you could get Missouri to put a loss on A&M and you put a second one on them and you kick the Aggies away from this discussion and then you're tied with Ole Miss, then I think your initial logic is right. So just remember, of all the great things about the SEC, I don't know if this one's great, but it is complicated. The division system used to make at least we all could understand, right? You got what it was. The divisions were easy to figure out. This one, it's weird. Like Jason, here's another one. If Texas A&M, and Alabama end up in a 3-way tie, there are no common opponents. None. There's not one team that all three of them played.
Well, A&M didn't play Alabama, so they would probably be out, right? Because Texas would have above Alabama. But then wouldn't it be Texas and Alabama, I would assume?
Well, see, they all didn't play each other. So since there is no true round robin, the matchup between two of those teams doesn't matter. You got to start with the three, and then you have to say, okay, who did they all play? They all didn't play. There's not one team. There's not one.
So what's the next tiebreaker after common opponent?
So then where you go is take everybody's conference opponents, all 8 of them, and just add up the records and get a percentage.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm glad you're doing this stuff because.
And by the way, here's your answer right now. As we sit here, of those teams, the team with the best number is Texas, 47.6%. Bama would be at 45.5. Again, it's all going to change because we got games to go. I'm just trying to give you the example. And the Aggies, this is something to keep in mind, Jason. 2 teams right now, A&M and Ole Miss. You add up who they've played. Oh my God. A&M's at 31%. Think about what I just said. Texas is at 47.6 when you combine their opponents.
And it's probably going to only go up. They've got Georgia and A&M. So, I mean, Texas is, in that scenario, I think Texas is pretty safe.
Again, it's about everybody you played. So if you want to get nerdy about this, if you're a Texas fan, when you see a team play that you've already played and beaten, root for them to win. Now, when Florida plays Kentucky this week, you're going to get one way or the other. You just get one of those. But for a team like A&M, Jason, they've played one team so far. Excuse me. They're going to play one team that is winning, has a winning SEC record as we speak, and that's Texas. That's it.
So Oklahoma beating Tennessee was actually a really good thing for Texas, as much as Texas fans hate to root for Oklahoma. It's
correct. OU sits at 3-2 as we do this show. The better they can be, the better that makes Texas's overall look. And
I don't give a shit. I'm not ever rooting for
I
Oklahoma.
agree with you there.
I'm never rooting for your Aggies.
I agree with you there. Chad. But I want to make sure everybody understands it's even nerdier than you think it is, because when you get into 3 and 14 tiebreakers, it gets wild. There's 6 steps to it. The very last step is a random draw, and I'm not kidding. Step 5 is something that I don't even think I have access to, and even if I did, it's a level of analytics that I don't even think Alex Dunlap wants to mess with. But the first 4 steps, I think I understand, and it's pretty wacky, but that's the basic work that I've done this week. I'll throw it out on orangebloods.com in a post so everybody can kind of see it. I'll throw the link out there too if you want to get nerdy, but that's kind of the way I see it for Texas. If they win out, it doesn't necessarily get them to Atlanta, but they'll be in a great spot to get in the playoff.
I pretty much would think, not a guarantee, like you said, but I think they would be there. Yeah. But we had these same conversations last year, like, oh my gosh, these crazy tiebreakers. When you have 16 teams competing for 2 spots, you're going to have some. It's only a matter of time, Chad, before somebody gets screwed or feels like they've gotten screwed, and it's going to be some wacky tiebreaker, like opponent, like you said, not even common opponents, but opponents' records, or God forbid, a random draw or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's a better system. I don't know how you could tweak it, but when you've got, I mean, realistically, right now, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams that have 2 losses or fewer. If I just counted that right, 1, 2. Well, no, Tennessee's got 3. I'm sorry. I guess maybe 9 teams that have 2 losses or fewer. So you've got 9 teams that are legitimately still potential, candidates for that SEC championship game. It's just, I don't know, it gets a little too wacky almost with 16 teams vying for 2 spots without divisions.
Yeah, because it depends. Because right now, I'm not even considering teams that have lost 2 games. I'm trying to keep,
exactly.
Right? I'm trying to keep it at.
You're not, but I mean, technically, those teams are. I mean, Vandy's still in the hunt. Oklahoma's still technically in the hunt, right? I mean, if they win out,
it is a wild set of numbers. So I'll handle all the nerdy thinking because that's how my brain works. Y'all don't worry about it, but. The basic version, we all know what it is. Texas needs to win out, try to be 10-2, and who knows, being 10-2 and not going to Atlanta might not be the worst spot to be in. Because,
dude, when you were talking, that's what I was thinking. I was like, hey, you get a bye week essentially to get healthy, and you don't have to.
Yeah,
you want to win the conference championship. I get it, but I mean, it happened with Ohio State. They didn't play for the Big Ten championship last year, right?
That's
worked out well for them.
In fact, I'll show you the idea of what I'll show you the bracket. I'll show you where the bracket would be today, and you'll see where that spot is that Texas could be. That might be outside of the SEC title game, but maybe it's where you want to be. Before we do that, shout out to Specs. They bring you the chat each and every day, and it is it's fall time. We've passed Halloween. We're going to fall. Prepare for creative rhyming. Look out.
When fall's chill hits the air, raise a glass with cash to spare. Specs can fill those longer nights with fancy cheese and wine flights. Camp is set and the night is young? Grab a brewski, time for fun. Game day underway? Specs delivers. It's a great day. Picnic in the park, perfect pairing for the heart. Stock up and save on seasonal cheer, because when you shop at Specs, the fun starts here.
Here's to you, shout cheers to savings.
They worked the word brewski into a poem. That's fantastic. Well done, Specs. As always, no notes. Well done. All right, we get a super chat in. Okay, here we go. Patrick, $5. Chad, but if Texas wins out, they will have 1 loss in conference. So will A&M, but it will be 2 Texas. That wouldn't qualify over A&M. Patrick, it does. If Ole Miss loses another game. You're forgetting about Ole Miss. They would have to lose.
Or if Alabama loses one, they'd fall into that one.
Or if Bama lost, right? Ole Miss plays Florida and they're at Mississippi State. That's it. They just have 2 left. So root for the Gators to get, give them a loss, then maybe you're getting what you want. So you're right. The head-to-head will matter, but only if it's those 2 teams. When you add in a third team that both A&M and Texas did not play, then you can't take the head-to-head. That's not fair to all 3 of those teams. That's not true, because then you're saying to Alabama, like, well, you're in the tiebreak, but you don't really matter. I mean, yeah, it gets really confusing. So in theory, yes, Patrick, but it's got to only be those 2 teams. That's the thing to look for in those, in that scenario. And this says the Aggies' SEC opponents thus far have all fired their coaches with the exception of Mississippi State. Wow. I hadn't thought about it that way. They played Arkansas. They played LSU. They played Florida. Wow.
That's crazy.
Hey, somebody tell Eli Drinkwitz, right? No, I think
Eli's safe.
I think he's safe, but hey, that is why. Yeah, and how about that? And Auburn, because obviously Auburn made the decision with Freeze. How about that, Jason? LSU.
That's crazy.
LSU, Florida, Arkansas, Auburn. All of those names in the SEC, and we could argue about.
I hadn't even really thought that. Holy crap, there's been 4 SEC coaches fired. That's crazy to hear that out loud, but to hear that A&M's played all of them is crazy.
Yeah, that is wild. That is wild. Look at Mike Elko just ripping through the SEC, taking coach
Grim Reaper. Yes.
Mike Elko was the Grim Reaper of coaches. I had no clue. Thank y'all for those super chats. If you have any other nerdy questions, you can ask me. I'm digging through all this kind of stuff. By the way, Bama has LSU at home this week, OU at home, and at Auburn. Here's another little thing to look for, Jason. If you're wondering, if you're a Texas fan, again, root for everybody playing Bama. But think about this. If Bama were to lose to OU, that would help Texas in a tiebreaker. If it only ended up as Texas and Bama, those 3 common opponents, where did it go? Are Georgia, Vandy, and OU. So in that discussion, Texas would have beaten OU. would have beaten Georgia, but and obviously beaten OU. But then if Bama were to have their one loss beat OU, Texas wins that tiebreaker. Whatever it's for. Let's
Georgia, Vandy, and OU. Texas won all three.
Exactly.
So,
Texas would be 3-0. Alabama would be 2-1 in that scenario, and that's what would get to.
That's a lot of ifs and buts. Texas has to win.
It is. Yeah, right.
That game is in Alabama against Oklahoma, right?
The game is at Alabama. Correct. It's in Tuscaloosa.
That's going to be an uphill climb, but
right. Off of what happened last year. Yeah. Right. That's a group that's going to remember going to Norman and getting beat by 3 touchdowns. But just to point out the fact that it all depends on who the tiebreaker is, because sometimes you've got, again, Texas and Bama have 3 common opponents. Texas and Ole Miss have 6. And then, like I said, Texas A&M, and Bama, there's not one team that you could say, oh, they all played that team. Nope, there's not. But there's 3 of them that Texas A&M, and Ole Miss played. So it's just, there's a lot.
I'm counting on you each week to dumb this down as much as you can, and I'll just read about it on Orange Bloods, because that's where you're coming. You're, like you said, your nerdy brain comes into
There's one thing I'm good at, Jason. It's dumbing things down. That's what I try to do. That's pretty much been my life for a while, is trying to dumb down the goofy numbers.
I made it dumb it down for my dumb brain, but we'll try to dumb it down.
Texas, play who you play. And this is an interesting note too. Dave throwing out the idea of Texas playing to the opponent. Jason, I thought this was a great example last week of, if that's what it was, Vandy got the business end of that, because Texas played with desperation. They played with edge. They played like they were playing a really good team, and Vandy didn't. Vandy started like they never got off the plane, like it was the worst thing to have an 11 a.m. kick. And it took till it was 17-0 for Vandy even realized there was a ball game going on.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with Dave's take there. Texas plays to their opponents, because, think about it, Mississippi State and Kentucky, right? And then Vanderbilt, they go out and put a really good team performance out there, minus the last 5 minutes. Like I always keep saying that. But Dave, kind of like I said at the top of the show, and I think Sark's said it, I think Sark's word is like, hey, he feels like they're hitting their stride. I kind of feel that way too. Okay, let's get the defense healthy. That group, we know what that group will be. I feel like, and Chad, we said it in the post game. You actually said it during the game last week. Like, is Connor Robertson like the MVP of this last couple of weeks? Because by having him solidify the center position, getting Cole Hudson to play at guard, that offensive line looked like night and day from what we'd seen previously. That allowed Arch to play a lot better. He had time. He could go through his progressions. The running game still getting a little bit better. Still a bit of a work in progress there. But I don't disagree, Dave. Texas plays to their opponents. We've kind of seen that. That's been what they've done. But I kind of think what we saw against Vanderbilt is what we're going to see moving forward, in large part because of that offensive line group. And excuse me, how well it played against Vandy. We'll see if they can hold up against a really good Georgia defense, but I think they found something there, and I think that kind of has a trickle-down effect to the rest of the offense.
Jason, I'm glad you brought up the offensive line. It got a little nerdy with Sark today in the presser, but I loved it. And someone asked him about Cole Hudson and Connor Robertson, the fact that they maybe were roommates at some point or whatever. But the technical football thing that he mentioned, I hadn't thought of it before, but think of it. With Hudson at center, the gap between him and Gooseby out at left tackle was a left guard they couldn't trust. Whatever it was, it just wasn't working, right? They tried one guy, they tried another, they tried a third guy. It's just not working out. But you put Hudson at left guard, who also, as Sark points out, understands the center calls.
He can help center calls. He can help left tackle
so
calls.
He could help Robertson out, and maybe he did. And that helps solidify center to guard. It also might help your badass left tackle not to feel like he's being left alone. Hey, 74, just do what you can do out there, because that guy next to you is lost. And now it's not the case. It felt like they were starting to piece it together and to figure out, oh, wait a minute, here's how we work as a unit.
I thought it was really interesting and honest, frankly, that when Sark said, hey, Connor Robertson and Cole Hudson, they're not the most talented guys. They're not the most talented guys in that room on our team. But he goes, you know what? They're smart. they're scrappy, they're veterans. They play well together. But you don't often hear a coach say, "Yeah, my guys, there's not the most talented guys in the world, but yeah, we make do with it." But
right.
it was a pretty honest assessment of his offensive line and just said, "Hey, they're not the most talented, but that group collectively plays well together. They certainly did against Vanderbilt. They're going to have to, we also fell into that trap. Let's remind everybody, we fell into that trap against Oklahoma. We're like, okay, this offensive line looked really good against a really good defensive front in Oklahoma, and then it was one step forward, two steps back. So, we need to see them do it again against Georgia and obviously Arkansas, Texas A&M. But the way they really dominated a pretty good Vanderbilt, defensive front, I think that gives, if you're a Texas fan, that should give you a lot of hope, a lot of optimism moving forward.
Yeah, and again, my worry going into the game was because Vandy could both run and stop the run in a way that Texas hadn't seen. I thought that was going to give Texas trouble. The key with Texas right now, you want to be able to run and stop the run. But if you can pick one of those two things to be, Texas is really good at that one, which is stop the run. If you give me a choice of those two things, I'll say let them stop the run, and you got to figure out things on the running side. But you can feel little bits of it on the way, Jason. Here's another nerdy football thing I'm going to throw in. I think Texas found something else in this game with that offensive line, and it's the pistol. Run that run game out of a pistol formation and not the running back standing right next to Arch. I felt like it gave it a little bit of a spring. It gets those running backs to think forward and think headed forward a little more, not dancing. That little snap it and just hand it right to them like this, I don't know if that gets them the rhythm. I liked it with those linemen out of the pistol. I like some of those runs. I think they need to go to more of that.
Yeah, and listen, they ran the ball, I wouldn't even say pretty well. They were decent against Vanderbilt, right? But, Sark said, hey, there's still a lot of room for improvement in that run game. So, and they're going to need, I don't disagree with you, Chad, that like, hey, if you pick one, stop the run or run the ball effectively. Obviously you want both, but stopping the run, making that other offense one-dimensional, then you get to pin your ears back. But the flip side of that is, and Sark mentioned it in his press conference. He said, hey, they got to third and kind of manageable a lot in this Vanderbilt game, right? 3rd and 6 or less. I think he said they were 7 out of 8 or something on 3rd and 6 or less. So, yeah, I get it. You want to stop the run, but you also still have to be able to run the ball effective enough so you're not behind the chains. That's where disaster starts to happen. That's when offense can struggle as we
Here's the other thing that hit me, Jason, while I'm watching the replay. It's the old thing about the two guys running from the bear. I don't have to outrun the.
Can I interrupt? I'm sorry. I'm so jealous that you can watch a replay because freaking YouTube TV, I can't watch anything, Chad. So, sorry, man. I had to get that out.
In this one case, old man that still has a Spectrum DVR, that actually was a positive. It'll be a negative in 3.
I might actually have to go to my mother-in-law's house to watch football this weekend. Oh,
yeah, it'll be negative in 3 weeks. But Jason, it is like that story, right? I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you. The thing that I realize is, wait a second, I'm not thinking of enough dimensions here. It's not that Texas rushed for 100 yards against Vandy. That's not ideal. But what did Vandy do? It's about outrushing your opponent. If Texas can continue that, that's why they lost to Florida. Go look at those rush numbers.
Yeah.
Texas,
Florida dominated.
Right? Florida was able to outrush Texas. I think that's what we've got to watch moving forward, Jason, because let's all be real. Georgia is not some kind of unbelievable running football team right now. I think they're in the 40s right now running the ball. They do it pretty well, but they're not that kind of Georgia team from a few years ago. So it really is about, in each individual game, can Texas outrush the opponent? Forget about national rankings and all the stuff that I love to dig into every week. It's about what did they do? What are you doing to that team at the same time? Because they were able to neutralize Vanderbilt, and then they did enough. Did they need more? Yes, they did. If they'd had a little more run game, I think they could have closed that thing out as a multiple score win, and we wouldn't be talking about, 34-31. But that's the key for Athens, for the Aggies at home, and definitely for Arkansas. If Arkansas comes to Austin and outrushes Texas, that's not good. If Taylon Green starts going crazy and they outrush Texas, then that could turn into a scary kind of game for the Longhorns. That's a key to me in these last 3. If you tell me Texas outrushes the next 3 opponents, I think they're going 10-2.
Yeah, that Arkansas, like you said, that I haven't broken down Arkansas enough, but I mean their quarterback run game is a big problem, and same with A&M.
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me about Taylor Green. He's still I think he's still running up and down the field on the Aggies. Thank God they got no defense that night.
Out rushing A&M in Arkansas and Georgia. Yeah, you said if they do that, you think they go 3-0? Is that
I
what
do.
you said?
If you just tell me that, just give me that one thing. Tell me Texas outrushes total rushing yards and yards per carry. It's better than the other team in both cases. I'll take Texas to win all three.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I'll do that. I'll go with you on that one.
I think it's really important. And if they can start to find a little bit more, it was just there was.
Later on, I got to put this. Someone said, I'm not even going to argue with him because he's.
What is this? Where is it?
Without doing the Jason hedge, because I do hedge my bets quite a bit. I'm guilty as charged.
The Jason hedge.
CFP. You know what, fan club? I don't think so. I don't know that I can pick Texas to beat Georgia, and then that A&M game still looms. So if I'm betting right now, I'm probably saying no. I'm sorry.
No, I feel,
and there's no hedge in that answer. So how about that?
Just so those of you know, Jason and myself and Anwar, all three of us, we didn't trust Texas and we picked OU. Texas responded. We didn't trust Texas and we picked Vandy. Texas responded. I'm willing to pick Georgia right now. I'm just telling you. I'm willing to make the pick. If Jason and Anwar are willing to come with me, catch will eat the enchiladas. We'll do all we can. Because
I'm trying to think. The quarter picked Texas. The quarter picked Oklahoma as I reflect back.
Is that
so
right?
The quarter doesn't matter. Screw that quarter.
The quarter got flaky. The quarter's been a little flaky. So
quarter's got damn near the same record I've got. That's how unpredictable this Texas team is.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, the thing I loved about Saturday night, Jason, and watching Georgia survive Florida, I knew that was that. I mean, I knew they were that kind of team. And by the way, if DJ Lagway can just get a pass off the ground with 3 minutes to go, that could be a different thing. That could be very, very different. But Georgia got the win. And Kirby is dead on. Sark said the words today, hard to kill. That's what Kirby's been saying about his team. And he's right. No one's been able to make them pay for the when they're slightly off. I know Bama went to Athens and beat them, but that's another key to that game for me, Jason. Bama went in there and they hit them early and they got a lead and they even freaked Kirby out enough. He didn't want to tie. I'll rip on him forever for that. 13 minutes to go and he did not want a tie game. He cost his team a football game. And after the game, it was like, no, that wasn't the decision to make. I'd do it 10 times out of 10. To me, it's wrong every time. Texas needs to force Kirby into that kind of dumb stuff. That was at home. In Athens, he did that mess. That's the kind of thing he can turn into if you can get a lead on him, if you can make him chase a little bit, make Kirby think about weird analytic stuff. Do I want to go for it on fourth down here or whatever? That's why if I'm a Texas fan, the idea of that team that started that way against Vandy, playing this Georgia team that is not getting out of the blocks well, the first 5 to 8 minutes in Athens are critical. If Texas can get up, make them chase. Those fans, Georgia fans at home, they're just like Texas fans or Michigan fans or USC fans at home. There's expectation, and they will murmur their ass off if you get a 10-0 lead on them. They will get nervous. They'll freak out. That's what Texas needs to do. Hit Georgia and hit them quick.
And they finally did that against Vanderbilt. Maybe they can bottle that up and start quickly. And I see Georgia fans in the chat talking all this trash. This is not a dominant Georgia team, and they beat Tennessee by 3. Obviously, the Alabama game happened. Auburn was a 10-point game. I mean, Ole Miss had to come back. They ended up winning by 10. Florida was a close game. I mean, this is a Georgia team that can be had. If Texas plays offensively like it did last week, and if they can get their defense healthy, which we think is going to happen, right? I mean, I'm not necessarily picking Texas to win this game, and we'll get to that next week. But, I mean, this is a very much a winnable game against a Georgia team that's good, but far from great.
And the other thing about it, as far as a test, it's just like Vanderbilt to me in that you have to beat them. Despite what I said about Kirby, and in fact, it goes along with what I said about Kirby. He's right. They are hard to kill, which is why I still can't understand why he didn't want to prolong that game against Alabama. But he chose the wrong way, and he paid for it. But Vandy was a team last week. I just knew, like, okay, they're going to have to finish this game. And by the end, Vandy did show that even though they slept through the first part of the game, they woke up and they got a couple big plays and they made Texas finish it, and Texas did. That's the same kind of team Georgia is, man. You're going to have to choke them out, pin them down, chain them down, and finish it. They're not going to give you much. And that's the key. So that's the confidence I would have if I'm a Texas fan coming out of the last game. You beat a team that you have to beat. But you know what, Jason? Until they show us different, that's kind of what A&M is. I mean, think about the Aggies this year. For whatever – you talk about who they've played and all that. You have to finish them. A couple teams have had a chance, and they couldn't do it. So they're that kind of team too. They're going to make you finish the job. They're going to make you finish 4 quarters, and we'll see if Texas can do it. That one's obviously at home. This is talking about going to Athens and finishing it. It's just a tough place to do it.
You probably have to beat Georgia and the refs. And we got a Georgia fan talking a lot of trash. I'm going to put up a couple of his posts.
There we go. Okay.
First off, is Texas dominant? Not dominate, go Dogs.
Is Texas dominate?
Yeah, and I had another one somewhere I can't even find it, but yeah.
Neither of them is to that fan, to go Dogs or
Texas,
whoever. No.
Texas lost to a 2-4 Florida team. All right, go Dogs. You don't get to talk a lot of trash if you can't spell and get your grammar.
And you just beat Florida by that. Come on now. You just beat Florida by that much. Georgia fan, deep down, we are not saying Texas is some kind of dominant force. See, that's what you guys do in the chat when you hear us say one little positive thing and you say, oh, so nobody else has got a chip. Calm down. Breathe. That's going to be – that game always had a chance to be a battle. And I think that's what we're cooking our way towards, is a battle. And if you're a Georgia fan, you got to sit on a few things. Kirby has had his number. Sark has not been able to figure out Georgia, all that stuff. You're right. You're absolutely right. Stockton has looked good at times. That pass game when they need it has been there. And what I love most about Georgia is in most cases, when they have to run, they do. That's my other big question, Jason, for Texas moving forward. I think this week it's like 94th in the country running the ball. When they have to, can they run it? That's how they finished Bama in Tuscaloosa. It's how they finished Michigan in Ann Arbor. And it's how they could have finished Vandy last week, but they didn't have it. If they need it, if they have a lead, if they have a 10-point lead, if they have a 6-point lead late, can they finish it in Athens by running the ball? That's the next thing they need to show me, just like Bama does. I don't trust Bama to run the ball when they need to run the ball. Bama's 114 in the country running the ball. That blows my mind. I just don't trust them to do it. A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, I trust at different levels. At different times, do I trust those teams to run when they need to? Yeah, kinda. I do if Lane calls the play. I do if Le'Veon Moss is healthy for A&M. And I do if Georgia is if they're in a decent down and distance and you have given them the ball and the opportunity, I trust the Dogs to get those yards.
Maybe not against this Texas defense. So
yeah, and that's the great matchup too. Good grief. That defense going up against Georgia trying to run is going to be fun to watch. Thank you guys for jumping in the chat. Before we get out of here, let me hit you with one more beautiful image, and it is Hayes City Store. We had somebody show up to our watch party and said they were going from the Bad Beat Bacon to possibly the pork chop at Hayes City Store. Now that is a culinary.
That dude was eating good.
That's a day right there. This one, if I'm not mistaken, is the blackened pork chop. They've got blackened, they've got grilled, they've got chicken fried. I love the Brussels sprouts. Y'all know I've talked about them. I'll admit it. I'm a Brussels sprouts guy. But you know what else is good? Those onion rings are tasty. If you are into those big, thick cut, sweet onion kind of onion rings where the breading is so good, if a piece of it falls on the floor, you're going to grab it and eat it, and you don't care if someone stepped on it. That's the kind of onion ring we're talking about. Check them out. Hayes City Store, FM 150 in Driftwood. Tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. That's why the guy wanted to go out there. He and his wife were headed out to, where were they going? Big Ben? Is that what they said?
Yeah, Big Ben.
They went from Bad Beat Bacon out to Hayes City Store because we mentioned it, and then they headed out to Big Bend. Hope y'all had a great trip if you're checking us out. All right, let me just scan here real quick. I think we got all super chats and everything. Jason, anything else we need to hit today on this Monday? I do appreciate you jumping in.
No, man, I'm enjoying. Looking forward to an off week for Texas football because then Chad, we get to be football fans, right? This weekend, just be kind of bums. Well, on my couch or my mother-in-law's couch or somewhere where I can actually get ESPN games.
I love that.
I do. Someone in the chat said get Fubo or something. I saw there's like a free week-long trial, so I might have to go that route. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to just being a fan.
I love the idea that to get to watch football, you're going to be nice to your mother-in-law for a week. I do love that notion.
I'll be like, hey, mother-in-law, why don't you go run some errands for about 6 hours and I'll just come take care of your house.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, we got the rest of the week planned, laid out for you. Even though it's an off week, still got the normal stuff for you. One slight change, the Outsiders will still do one show this week. It'll be on Friday, so enjoy your off week. We had some Outsiders with stuff to do. Bo's got his big golf tournament today, so we're not going to be able to record. Shout out to everybody out there at Super Cooper. But we will get you the recruiting show as normal Wednesday at 10. And then tomorrow, right here in the 12 o'clock spot, it will be the Modcast. We'll get the mods together and see what they think of Texas in a bye week and some of the other games going on and all that good stuff. But again, positive information coming out of UT today and from the sources that Jason got as well. But looks like the guys that you want to be healthy, looks like another week might get them healthy. Looks like Wingo, McDonald, Taff. You can hope for all of those guys to be there in Athens, and then everybody else that needed a little bit, like a Manny Muhammad, let's say, gets another 2 weeks to get rested as well. Thank you guys for jumping in. Also, let me show you a couple of quick graphics since this can be updated. 177,000 subscribers. Catch always asks for confetti. So let me see if I can get you some confetti. Hold on. Of course, it froze up on me. I can't do confetti. What happened? Oh, no. That's not good. That's not good. I don't know why it won't let me have confetti.
I would try it, but I'd probably screw something up, so I'm not even going to mess with it.
That's such a shame. All right, I swear I was trying for confetti. That's probably not good news if I can't
tear up some paper and throw it in the air.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. But thank you guys for getting the subscriber number up. I'll end it while we're ahead. How about that? Thank y'all for jumping in. Check out all the stuff. Check out the video section, short section, football with friends, Anwar with the old fashioned, the prize pick show later in the week, all that. And of course, go to the QR code in the upper left, orangebloods.com for all the very latest there also. Thank y'all for jumping in. We'll see you tomorrow for the Modcast. This is Orange Bloods Live. See ya.